Yeah, what's good, people? So today I want to show you guys some of my new favorite features in Reason 7. So I put together a little quick loop here with some samples I got out of a Prime Loops pack. Nothing much too special, but it'll do the job. So let's focus on these two synthesizers right here, and you can see right off the bat one of the new features is that the mixing pan and volume have been added right into the rack here. So if I pan those left and right a little bit, we'll spread them out. And then let's just focus on this orange one right here. This is my favorite new feature, the graphic equalizer and spectrum analyzer. Let me see if I high pass that. And a low pass. So we clean it up a little bit. And then we turn on my EQ. And let's find some nice sweet spots. There's one. And then let's brighten it up a bit. And now if I pull up the mixer, you can see that it changed all these settings that are inside my SSL mixer right off the bat. So they're just hooked together seamlessly. And if I pull that up again, you can see the knobs turning in the SSL mixer when I start changing around this graphic EQ. So there's my high pass that's set up here. My low mids are blue. Can you see the pots moving on the low EQ here in the SSL mixer? So they're nice and seamless, but this makes a really nice quick way to go through your workflow. So let's go and do the same thing with this second synthesizer. I'm going to low pass it. Just take out some of those really high frequencies. And then let's high pass it to take out some of the lows. Again, we'll brighten up the EQ a little bit. Find a sweet spot. And that helps the second synthesizer stand out a bit. And let's give it a bit more body. It sounds pretty good. So you can see how nice and easy the EQ mixing workflow turned out in this new version of Reason. There's a couple other really cool mixing tricks that I'll show you in a second. But let's take care of the sub bass for right now. We'll high pass those really low frequencies so they don't take up all our headroom. And the same with the high frequencies. And then let's boost the low end a little bit. So now we can see what it did inside the EQ over here on the SSL mixer. And then I'm just going to clean up this EQ a bit so everything fits nicely together. let's move on to the drums, and I'm going to show you the next little trick that's been added. If I right click over here on the beat channel and run down to create parallel channel, it's basically going to make a duplicate of that without duplicating it in the sequencer, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. So let me show you. Let's focus on this second parallel channel and take care of the EQ. I'm gonna high pass all of my low frequencies out of this, so I end up with just the top end of the snare and the hi-hats really. Get rid of more kick. And now if I come up to my dynamics section here, I'm going to compress it a bit. Now we're going to compress it a little too much, so it's not really going to sound all that great by itself. But once we add it back into the mix, you'll see what we're doing. All right, let's go in and add a distortion. Where's that? Here we go. Scream 4 distortion. We'll give it a little character. And then let's throw a reverb on it. Okay, now bring in the other drums. This is what it sounded like originally. I bet you don't even remember that anymore. And see how now we added a whole lot more depth and brightness to these drums without losing the original feeling of the loop. Now I'm going to right click on that parallel channel and add another one. And with this I'm going to pretty much do the opposite, taking out all the highs, and let's just get the kick and bottom of the snare in here. If we hit the E, it tightens up our Q there. And then let's take some of the muddiness out. So again, with this channel, we'll go and compress it a bit. And then let's see what that sounds like in the mix. So you can see how we're adding a lot of dynamics to these drums without really changing the original sound at all. Make this kick a little thicker. And bring the originals back in. And brighten it up. And spread them out a little bit there. And we're going to shift click and highlight all three of these tracks. Come down and select route to new output bus. And if we go up into our mixer, you can see how all three of these channels are now routed out to this stem mix, which I'm going to call drum stem. And then if I change the color of that, you can see it reflect in the other three channels. So let me go drop down the programmer for this drum stem, and I'm going to choose an overall styling for it. Go to my dynamics in the drum section, and let's start playing around. Alright, that one sounds pretty good. Now let's pull these drums down, unmute everything, and try to bring them into the final mix. Cut down our clipping a bit. So now that we've added some power to those drums, it sounds like our synthesizers are lacking a bit. So let's go and try the same kind of tricks with the keys. I'm going to right click on my keys channel and create parallel channel. And then inside my insert effects on this parallel channel, I'm going to add a Scream 4 distortion again. Move it down to tube. That sounds pretty good. And now one of my favorite new tricks that I've been using a lot lately is if you have this Pulsar dual LFO, bring that in. If you don't have this, it'll also work with a Maelstrom if you check out my Shakers tutorial. Flip it around and bring my combined CV output up to my pan input on the programmer of the parallel channel. And now you can hear exactly what it does when I boost these levels a little. We'll turn on a second oscillator. Alright, and that's a little drastic, so let's reduce the level a little bit here so we get something usable. And now up here, let's see what it sounds like in the mix. We'll mute it out, and then we'll bring it in slowly until we can hear it. There we go. So now again, let's highlight both of those, route to a new output bus, and we'll call that our synth key stem. So in our programmer on this one, let's spread it out a little bit. I'm gonna come to all effects patches, and if I can remember where this folder is. It's in modulation. There we go, spreader. I'll try a few. I think I like this dimension one. So let's choose that. And that's what the original sounded like with the parallel panning effect and the spreading. So now in my mix, I'd probably go through the rest of these channels and do the same kind of process. But this will at least give you guys a few ideas on how to mix your stuff now that we have all these new features in Reason 7. So I hope you really got a lot out of this. I'm loving these new features. They're definitely my favorite set. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want some more videos, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.